When it comes to feedback, we actually have a dilemma in our brain. And the dilemma is between the frontal cortex, which is the most logical part of your brain, and the amygdala, which is the most reptilian part of your brain. So the frontal cortex loves direct feedback. The frontal cortex feels that if I'm clear with you about what you should do differently, then you do a better job. I give the feedback. And please also be clear with me, because feedback is free and it helps all of us. The issue is the amygdala. The amygdala, the most primitive part of your brain, is very focused on finding safety in numbers. So if you give me feedback in a way that's, if you give me feedback about something you feel I haven't done well, it's likely to send off an alarm in my amygdala. And that alarm is screaming, oh my gosh, I'm going to get kicked out of the tribe. And when that alarm starts to scream, it floods my body with stress hormones like cortisol, throwing my body into fight or flight. And when your body goes into fight or flight, that looks like this, right? Either it's like, Willie, Willie, I'm not the problem, you're the problem, right? That's fight. Or it's like this. So let me see if I can choose another person here. Yolanda, thank you so much for that feedback. I really appreciate that. And then I try to never speak to you again, right? That's flight. Okay. So because of this, we know, first of all, from a lot of research that actually getting your employees giving one another a lot of open, candid feedback is the number one way to boost performance in an organization. If you can do that without getting the amygdala screaming and ruining the relationships. But of course, that's not easy. How are we going to keep our amygdalas calm? And for this, I'm just going to speak just for a quick moment about it. But I've actually found that in these cases, the best thing to do is to put feedback on the agenda. So what I mean by that is that perhaps if you are, your employees are meeting with clients, that you suggest to them that after each meeting, they just have a quick debrief where I give you some feedback about what I think you could do to do a better job next time, and you give me some feedback about what you think I could do. We know that's our job. It's on the agenda. My amygdala stays calm. It deals with all of the A's and all of the B's. Or if you're managing one of these teams, maybe you say, you know what, in the next meeting, let's divide up. I'll send you into little Zoom rooms for 5 minutes. You'll each give one another one thing you feel that person is doing well and one thing that you think that person could do in order to improve. And then we'll switch directions. Or maybe you just say to your staff, you know what, in the next 6 weeks, please set up a meeting with each of your colleagues and have a few minutes of giving one another feedback. That gets all of the feedback out there in a way that feels comfortable to the amygdala. Now, they are doing one thing at Netflix that I thought was crazy when I first heard about it, something that they call live 360 feedback dinners. And basically what this is that the group gets together over dinner, maybe once a year, and we take turns. So like if you're up first, Hans, we go around the table and each person one at a time gives you some feedback. One thing I think you're doing well, one thing I think that you could do in order to do your job better. And then we move on to the next person. Now, when I heard about this, I thought, well, what's the point? Like, why do you have to drag my weaknesses through the group? Can't you tell me that in private? But I saw this as actually a very interesting mechanism, because when one person gives you feedback, you never know, like, is that more about him or is that more about me? But in these kinds of settings, it starts to be clear, this is just her opinion, but everyone else feels that I really need to work on this element. And I'll just give you a quote from one of the employees that I managed or that I interviewed. He said, "Getting publicly ripped apart sounds like torture. Each time I go to a live 360, I'm nervous. But after you get started, you see it'll be fine because everyone is watching. People are careful to be generous and supportive with the single intention of helping you succeed. No one wants to embarrass you or attack you. Everyone gets a lot of tough advice. You're not singled out. When your turn comes, it might be difficult to hear what people have to say, but this is one of the greatest developmental gifts of your life." Okay, I don't know if you're ready for live 360 feedbacks on your team, but I'll tell you, I actually did start doing them on my teams at INSEAD, and I found it to be very interesting and very useful.